Hi, folks. This is Mountainman coming to you from parts unknown. How is everyone tonight? I know I had this in my title last night, but I put it on my thumbnail picture. The price of madness, and the price has just gone up, and we're gonna go up quite a bit, and I'll be talking about that. We've got some activity at the Suez Canal that is already impacting world trade. We've got these cases with Trump coming to a head. We've got collectively, not when I say the church, I just don't mean the Vatican, but we got some very odd behaviors and things being approved by Christian churches that are very disturbing. As Archbishop Vigano said, God is outraged. So, I hope everybody's doing well. And we'll let people wander into the chats here. Hi, Wanda. How you doing? Hi, Nikki. Andrew. Doc. Alan. How you doing, Mike 1176? Sherry. Hello, Alan. Kim. Sinsen. Nice to see you. Long time no see. How you doing? So, I've got some clips I'm going to play. I didn't get to record one that got sent to me with Laura Logan. You all know I like my Laura Logan clips, but we can play that another day. I don't know how much I can get away with it, given things are going to get tougher here on this platform and other platforms. Hi, Debbie. How you doing? And I don't know how tough it's going to be. Sherry's here. Andrew, Doc, Alan. Let's see. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. So, anyway, people that tune in that might be wondering what's going on, I always allude to that, and every once in a blue moon we'll engage with somebody. But it seems shortly thereafter, they disappear from the conversation, and then I end up getting some kind of notice from a U-Tizzle. So, I don't want to be the kind of person to block people right off the bat. I'm going to continue to do things the way I do. If people can't have a decent conversation without doing something nefarious, I don't know. It's just awful coinky dink that things happen. But our business is getting the word out as to what is happening and has been happening to our nation, and as a consequence, Western civilization as a whole. And the quote you see on the screen is true. It was said, and he lost his life. And many people engaged in the political conversation today are unaware of that fact and a great many other facts. I'm going to try something here on my phone. There we go. Hopefully I didn't screw anything up. But we'll try it this way. I'm doing something new. Anyway, this was 7 days before he lost his life. And he said this and many other things. There's a plot in this country to enslave every man, woman, and child. Before I leave this high and noble office, I intend to expose this plot. So, what people think he was just daydreaming or trying to scare people for no reason, that this wasn't actually the case. Well, I can tell you that's not what his intentions were. His intentions were to give a serious warning to the world. And that's what's happening now. I put in in my title last night, The Price of Madness. I buried that in there with some other things. And tonight I put up a reference to The Price of Madness. We'll see if this thing will work the way I have it set up. But let me get rid of some of these news stories that are very important, and it's going to be affecting us in the near future, very near future. And we know Mr. T has been warning us of WW3, right? I guess a picture of a warship would get everybody's attention. Here we have the cost. This is from Huntsman. The cost of an Iranian-made or designed drone, roughly $25,000. Cost per shot of an Aster 1530 Sea Viper, $1 to $2 million. I'd say we can probably infer the Houthis' strategy here. And for people who aren't sure, hi, Lone Wolf, how you doing? Aren't sure about the Houthi strategy that is out of Yemen and what's going on with Gaza, Israel, and Yemen has been fighting with Saudi Arabia for quite some time. The HMS Diamond has shot down a suspected attack drone targeting merchant shipping in the Red Sea, destroying the target with a Sea Viper missile. Okay, so we got $25,000 for the drone, Sea Viper missile, $1 to $2 million. But as this reporter says, it's really incredible watching the U.S. Of course, HMS is Her Majesty ship, but we'll have the U.S. coming into play in a minute here. Expose its top assets in this reckless of a manner. All of their logistics are exposed here, and the Houthis have just demonstrated that ASBMS work. What is that? Anti-ship ballistic missiles. That should be ringing alarm bells in Washington, especially given the U.S. Navy has already concedes the Houthis have one of the best anti-ship missile forces in the world. Well, why is that cropping up? Because there have been a lot of attacks in the Red Sea. A lot of shipping has been cut back or rerouted. Let me see here. I'll get to him in a second. Here we go. Oh, I'll get to them in a second too. Speaking of money and how we're wee-weeing it away, here we go. The Red Sea is now largely closed to traffic. Here you see Saudi Arabia up in the right-hand corner, and you have the Suez Canal. There's a lot of dangerous stuff going on there, and shippers are moving their container ships around the Cape of Good Hope, around Africa. The Red Sea is now largely closed traffic, affecting 8.8 million barrels per day of daily oil transit and nearly 380 million tons of daily cargo transit. Global traffic will now be routed around the Cape of Good Hope, adding an average of 40% to voyage distance and even more in expense. The collective vessel market share of MSC, Hapag, Lloyd, and we've all heard of this one, Maersk, Maersk, each of which were recent victims to piracy attacks and have decided to totally suspend voyages via the Red Sea. And those three companies are approximately 40% of global cargo trade. Transit times from Asia to the Mediterranean were at a threshold last month. A threshold meaning a place they've never gone into before. And they've crossed that threshold and are now expected to rise up to an additional 10 to 14 days. What does that mean? What does it all mean? Well, I've got other articles here I'll pull up. Let's see. Financial Times notes that switching routes from Panama to Suez adds 5 days to journeys between New York and Shanghai if more ship owners avoid the Suez Canal and take the long route around Africa's Cape of Good Hope for journeys between the same cities. This could add an additional 6 days of journey. I have to add that there is a drought going on in Panama that's affected the canal. Also, a lot of insurers are refusing to insure certain vessels, especially those going to Israel. But anyway, I'll keep going. At least 167 ships crossed the canal during the first week of December this year, compared with 238 this time last year. Authorities have for the first time reduced the number of crossings, which by February will be limited to only 18 ships a day. Multiple ship owners have already applied surcharges of hundreds of dollars per container. Have you ever seen how many containers these ships hold? For exporters sending goods through Panama, as the cost of using the canal increased by up to millions of dollars per ship passage. Remember we had that conversation where Reagan was going after Carter about selling the Panama Canal for $1? But anyway, Hapag-Lloyd announced an upcoming war risk surcharge of up to $80 for all shipments to and from Israel. Hi, Larry. How you doing? Marla, how you doing? Lori. Let's see. Rubber Toe, how you doing? What'd you read, Alan? Celebrities? I don't know. We hear a lot of things. Hi, Melinda. Lone Wolf made it in. Lone Wolf. Ha ha ha. Yes, Nikki said, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. Kicking Bird, how you doing? So anyway, this is just the beginning. When things start popping off down there, over there, up there, whatever, we're going to be dealing with. Let me see which one I've got on the screen I've got to get rid of. There we go. A lot of prices are going to be going up. What's this one? Okay, it's Mr. T. I'll get to him in a second. But I tell you, people that jump into these conversations, you know, and they don't return, or I don't know, so whatever the problem is. When we talk about Gaza and everything like it, you think about how much money has been sent, not just by the U.S., but entities all around the world to help Palestinians. You know, it's good to help kids, good to keep people in food and help those that are worse off. But do you all have any idea? You all do, but the people that keep wanting to throw money at these problems and these individuals, how many billions of dollars have been sent and are spent on things like these tunnels and plans to wipe out entire groups of other human beings? Here's a picture. I didn't copy the footage, but they've got something. I'll read about it in a little bit. This largest Hamas tunnel. They got trains down there. You know, they're not that great, but these things don't come cheap. Israel has discovered the largest Hamas tunnel under the Gaza Strip. The IDF said it's 4 kilometers long, and the entrance is located just 400 meters from the Erez crossing, which Gazans use daily to enter Israel. Everybody's saying, free Gaza, you know, it's from the river to the sea, blah, blah, blah. Gaza has its own border with Egypt. They have a border crossing. They could go back and forth to Israel if they weren't a security threat for years and years, decades, okay? Nobody's not free in Gaza. So unless, you know, they want to wear a you-know-what-aside vest, okay, then they might tell you you can't come in, okay? It is curious that for the construction of tunnels, Hamas allegedly uses a homemade road header, and all mechanical work is as automated as possible. The dimensions of the structure allow it to accommodate civilian and military cargo, as well as a large number of people. The interior is equipped with ventilation, water, and electricity. Hi, Susie. How you doing? Sissy, how you doing? Hi, Ken. Cindy, nice to see you. So, all the, you know, it's like Mr. T said, if the baddies would spend half their creativity and ingenuity that they spend on messing with our selections and tried to do some good for humanity, we'd be a lot better off. And it's the same with these situations of what I'm showing you right here on the screen. How much money has gone. And, you know, it's not all diverted charitable money. I'm not going to forget or let anybody forget about those pallets of gold and cash that, how did Mr. T word it? Barack, like he said, remember how Rush used to say it? Hussein Obama. We'll see how that bounces up in Hussein Obama's face here before long. But anyway, here we go. I got this little notification just before I came up. What time was that? 9:18. I already knew about this, but here's the way they present it, you know. Judge Arthur Engoron slammed Trump's accounting experts and rejected key points of the defense in an order Monday, denying a motion for a directed verdict filed by Trump's attorneys after trial testimony ended last week. So, of course, the judge rejects key points of Trump's defense. Yeah, you can't use the premier expert, real estate experts in the country, banking experts, insurance experts. No, you just go with a judge with a communist philosophy, okay? Whatever he thinks. That's like asking Stalin or Lenin to say, you know, we were wrong about the way we treated people. No, that's not going to happen. So Trump put out some responses to this. Let me see. It was a long response. I want to make sure I get it in the proper order. Let me see. What's this one left on the screen? Oh, that's about Ukraine. This was posted by the people in the East. Reposted. Douglas McGregor's Alinsky took billions to keep the war going. Here we go again. The price of madness. After a peace deal was close, it's coming out now that there was action and stuff going on. Somebody asked me in the chats a couple of broadcasts ago, I think 3 broadcasts ago, what I thought about the Hungarian president. People welcoming, here in America, welcoming him in bars because he's such a mean dictator. And I had already ended the broadcast and I read the quote and I didn't get a chance to answer. And what does this person expect? That if you, me, or anybody was running a business and a dignitary, a head of state from another country walks in, what are you going to do? What do you want people to do? Attack him? Throw him out of your establishment? A member of NATO? Because why? Why is he calling him a dictator? Because he says nice things about Trump, that Trump will stop these wars, and America needs Trump back, the world needs Trump back. That makes him a bad person. And I want to ask this person, what business did he ever run to tell other people what to do? But anyway, that's President, gosh, I can't think of his name. Sounds kind of like the judge's name. Erdogan, Judge Erdogan. I mean, President Erdogan, who's a good man. All right. Look at Hungary's history as part of the Soviet Union. And look what happened during the Hungarian uprising. What Stalin did to the people of Hungary. You want to talk about dictators. But anyway, they're members of NATO now, and they're moving much closer to a Western-style government than they ever were when they were behind the Iron Curtain. Okay, so yeah, I answered your question a couple broadcasts late, and if you were here, you could elucidate a little bit more about your position or whatever. But anyway, Zelensky took billions keeping the war going after a peace deal was close. We know the Ukrainians lost 500,000 to this war, maybe more, 500,000 people. We lost a total of 116,516 souls in WW1. That's enough to destroy any country. Make peace, you fools. And the writer, the news reporter says, former advisor to the head of the Pentagon, Douglas McGregor, criticized the corrupt official Zelensky. Zelensky spent billions to prolong the conflict with Russia while a peace agreement was almost concluded, writes a retired colonel. Now, that's the same colonel who says we may not be having an election in 2024, right? But that last line, make peace, you fools, that is a historic quote from a top general during World War II who was defending the Western Front. Most notably during this time was the Rhine River, when the Allies crossed the Rhine River. And Hitler was in his bunker in Berlin, and he called to the Western Front, panicking, seeing if he could send anything and what should we do? And the general famously replied, "Make peace, you fools." And that was the last time he spoke to the high command. I think it was after the Battle of the Bulge. Hitler had less than 100 days to live, and they didn't make peace. So anyway, it's just I found it interesting. He chose that historic quote. Let me just see what's going on. Sydney's recovering. That's good. Whoa. I'm just trying to see the quote. I get the light colored stuff out of the way. I can look at the chats a little better. Thank you, Nikki, for putting that in there for Buy Me a Coffee. Nikki's put a link in there if anybody wants to help channel out. And Gary and Aaron and Lone Wolf broke through U-Tizzle's barricade of Mountainman. Anyway, I'll get into that some other time or later in the broadcast. But anyway, I'm going to go over Trump's response to Ngoran. But this is, Tucker put out something right here. I didn't copy because I know I won't get to play it. But Citizens Free Press said, pray for real Donald Trump. They will stop at nothing. And Tucker made a little 2 to 3 minute discussion about what lengths these people, he's afraid they will go to. And I have no doubt that they're going to go to the very end. All right. And one thing Tucker brought up was the assassination of JFK. And that this is some very dark times. And unfortunately, I think our nation is in such a state that people need to see the lengths these people are willing to go to. Let me play you this little short clip. I'll call this guy Myron. This is NBC. MSNBC. A little interview with the, quote, deciders. You got Myron in here. He'll end the interviews. But then you got another guy who's trying to look, I think, like Che Guevara or something. And it's their opinions on what's going on with the election. And I'm not making fun of people. I just have to say, very little testosterone, okay? A lot of soy, a lot of estrogen. It's in the foods. We know about frogs turning gay, okay? Does it affect their abilities to perceive what's going on in our country? Not just their physical affect. But anyway, I'll go ahead and play it. You guys can listen to what the deciders, what they're going to do about this Trump-Biden situation.
Give me the emotion that you have looking at your choice this election.
Not enthused. I'd say overall I feel very pragmatic and strategic about it.
You can say that Joe Biden's, he's not as progressive as you'd like, or he's not this, he's too old. I mean, the guy is at least reasonable and has some sort of logic to what he does. All of these.
Reasonable and has logic. Joe Biden is reasonable and has logic to what he does. These people aren't getting the news about what's been going on, the criminality, okay? I will give them that excuse, but not too much more. I'll let it keep playing.
These issues that are popular with Democrats, he has not only not addressed, but often gone the entire opposite way on.
If the election were tomorrow, what would you do?
I could not bring myself to vote for Trump, but it would be the first time, I think, if I had to choose tomorrow, it would be the first time I think I'd vote for someone else, like third party.
Even if I'm not enthused to, effectively elect my grandpa a second time, boy, do I want to keep the other guy out.
Boy, do I want to keep the other guy out. It doesn't matter to him about these tremendous issues that are facing the country. But how about that chick in the middle? Boy, wouldn't she be a barrel laughs at a date? I ought to play it again, but maybe later on the broadcast. Low energy, depressing looking individuals, but this is the kind of garbage that they're exposed to. Let me put this up. Remember, I was talking about Trump said that what they're doing with the criminal elements and the psychiatric wards they're emptying out and bringing over to this country, gang members, who knows what. He said they were poisoning the BLOOKD stream of our country. Well, it didn't take them long to come up with this garbage. And man, I tell you what, well, let it play. Did you? I'll just say what Vivek said, and I don't want to say the whole thing, but Vivek was giving a little presentation in front of a crowd, and he said, "Go F yourselves." Okay, that's what you feel like saying, but here's the kind of crap they come up with.
On this, hours, Douglas, after making these remarks, the former president doubled down and wrote a post saying this: illegal immigration is poisoning the blood of our nation. As I mentioned, President Biden and the White House are comparing this to the words of Adolf Hitler, and specifically the words that were written in Mein Kampf. And I want to read for folks the comparison that we see within Mein Kampf so they understand the gravity of this situation. The poison which has invaded the national body, especially the strong influx of foreign blood. That is from Mein Kampf. As a historian, Doug, what did you hear in the former president's remarks?
I heard a former president who is jiving on fascism. There's no question about that being a line from Mein Kampf. He knows it. He's been dabbling in Adolf Hitler his whole life, keeps Hitler's speeches at a bedside. Mein Kampf seems to be the book that's inspired Trump the most. So it's heinous because it's the kind of language meant to belittle people, dehumanize them. And when we're not making
Did you hear him libel, saying that Trump kept Hitler's writings at his bedside? Hitler's writings inspire him. All this vitriol and garbage. The book Mein Kampf, you could tie a rope around it and anchor a boat with it. It's huge. And it's full of words, okay? If they want to play that game, how about this? Adolf was a vegan, okay? He was a vegan, all right? So now everybody that's a vegan, you're just like Adolf, okay? But listen to how he says Trump should not be allowed to speak in certain ways, not be permitted. Who the hell does this person think he is? And I'm going to quote Vivek again, go F yourself.
An anti-Trump comment when we're saying he is a fascist, guys, that really we're dealing with a fight in our country between democracy and fascism. And Trump's telling you that. He doesn't really mind the Hitler comparison because at heart he admires Hitler. So we're in a very grim place where the head of the Republican Party can use language like that, and then people like Lindsey Graham shrug and say, oh, it's just words, doesn't mean much. It's about the border, and we care about the border security. He can have a tough border security stance, Donald Trump. He should not be able to use language like that to poison our democratic bloodstream.
Right.
Able to use language like that and poison our democratic bloodstream. This is, I'm sure, another Harvard or Columbia or whatever. He calls himself a historian. One thing Trump said during his speech, many things he said, not only the colleges were going to lose their endowments as a fine, as a punitive damage for what they've done to this country. He also brought up that DEI business with the banks. He said, I'm going to get those banks. He's going to go after those banks too. We're going to cut off this money supply that's been funding. Just like what we saw with those tunnels, all the other stuff that I've been talking about, the price of madness. Well, they're going to pay a price for the madness they've been trying to push off on this country. And this creep on the screen right now is one of those. He doesn't deserve his degree the way he's talking about the 45th president of the United States and the accusations of the libel that he is spreading. And this is MSNBC. We'll see what happens to them. Hi, Roy. How you doing? Christopher, how you doing? So they're saying about poisoning the blood, right? Well, here, this is in Holland. I could have put this up yesterday, but I didn't. I said, well, it's just a little too nasty, but I'll play it, and I'll play it twice. Okay, after I play it the first time, I'll tell you what's going on. Holland, mind you.
Alleen omdat hij geen varken wilt eten? Wow. We don't eat pork. We don't eat pork.
They don't eat pork. You could tell that guy's a native of Holland, you know, with the hairdo. You know, he's probably wearing wooden shoes. So, you know, I'm not trying to pick on anybody. But what he was doing was relieving himself in the refrigerated section on pork that people are going to buy and consume because he doesn't like pork. You know how those people are from Holland. They don't like pork.
Alleen omdat hij geen varken wilt eten? Wow. We don't eat pork. We don't eat pork.
So I would venture to say some unknowing person consumes that. It might affect their hemoglobins. But anyway, here, all these boneheads. Whoa, where'd that go? I'll just show you right here what's coming into the country. And tell me if you see any women, or is this all military-age men? Okay? And I wonder if they like pork, if they're going to be using the bathroom in our refrigerated section. You know, that's more than one time I've seen that posted. I've seen people doing worse than that. Okay? There was one female who turned around and hiked up the back of her burqa and sat down and number 2 in the refrigerated section, okay? Don't blame me. I'm a witness. I'm just saying what I saw. It's not my fault. Anyway, see if you see anything other than military-age men here. I don't see any women and children, but if there are women and children, they're going to be dependents, okay? They're going to be people that are going to be needing housing, okay? Food stamps, okay? fuel assistance for the winter, because most of the people come from pretty warm climates, you know. We got, what, 224 countries are in the whole world? And I think they've verified people out of the 15 to 16 million that have been coming through just since Biden got in office, 162 different countries. They don't know where the hell they're coming from, what kind of history they have, what kind of record. None of them speak any English worth. They're not going to be able to sustain themselves, and they'll be getting government assistance. Hey, that's just the way it is. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you the fact of life, the fact of the matter. Tennessee. Is Tennessee in there? I'll wait till I see him. Angela. Hi, Donna. Outlandish. MS Motorsports. So, anyway, I'm sure you all have heard the big news about Pope Francis. Okay, yeah, he had the trannies come to the Vatican. You know, that was an outrage enough. And but now here we got Pope ABC. They can't wait to get this out. Pope Francis has formally approved allowing priests to bless same-sex couples with a new document explaining a radical change in Vatican policy by insisting that people seeking God's love and mercy shouldn't be subject to an exhaustive moral analysis to receive it. Okay? The document from the Vatican's Doctrine Office, it's a memo, okay? It's nothing that's been put before the cardinals. It's not an epistle. It's not anything but a memo. And I can tell you what, there's going to be many a priest that isn't going to go along with it. I've already discussed in my prior broadcasts about a schism, about how Archbishop Vigano has drawn a line, and the conclave of bishops in Guyana and many other places aren't putting up with this. So we'll see how far it goes. But the document from the Vatican's Doctrine Office released Monday elaborates on a letter Francis sent to conservative cardinals that was published in October. I wonder who the two conservative cardinals were. But no, there are people that in the church that are going to resist this. Well, outlandish Francis hadn't been in since 2013, and the one before him was Pope Benedict. He was forced out. And prior to him was Pope John Paul, who was a super pope. I mean, he was a good man and helped the church in time of crisis. So, well, I'll get into that more in a little bit. I mean, Jesus' own words, okay, about what would happen if people turn their backs on God. And one thing he said about the temple was there wouldn't be one stone left on top of another. And he was echoing and fulfilling the prophecy of Moses. And if you read that, what would happen when people turn their backs on God? At least Sodom and Gomorrah, they didn't know what hit them. It just blew up both cities. With Jerusalem, it was starvation, deprivation, conquest, and 10% of the people that survived made it out of there as slaves. Okay? So you go looking for God's love and mercy down the wrong road, that's what happens to you. And it was said by Jesus and Moses. So anyway, here we got this right here. Canada. Court rules calling drag queens GROOMERs does not fall under protected speech. So this is, they're going to try to push this off in the U.S., okay? In other words, Christians or people who stand for the word and even the words of Christ himself are going to be at some point criminalized by these people, these lunatics that are currently in control. But there's a bright spot. I'll get to that bright spot in a little bit. But anyway, then you have this. The Church of England, which Vigano mentions in his video that we discussed. Back when Henry VIII decided he wanted to have divorces and the church caved in, and next thing you know, he's not just getting divorces, heads were rolling. But anyway, Church of England blesses same-sex couples for the first time. One thing that Pope Francis did say in his memo to the cardinals was that the people that they were supposedly allowed to bless now had to reject the notion of same-sex marriage, which is, a little fig leaf over top of the main issue. But here the Church of England is going all out, blessing same-sex marriages. So, as far as this safety stuff, I've shown this before. Here's safety. I got to work on my safety, before they let me have my ability to forward my videos to Rumble or be shown to people in the algorithm or post links. This is safe for kids to see. This is a Utizzle ad about Meta, right? But they still call it Facebook, okay? Discover magic in unexpected places. Your friends are on Facebook. Your friends are on Facebook. So here's your friend right here. Ain't that a nice looking friend? Somebody you want picking your kid up at the bus stop? Safety first, right? Speaking of safe, how about this? Ha ha ha. If you want to put that in your quiver, ha ha ha. At 4 feet away. Angela thought she was safe. DEI friend. Yeah, that's right, Christopher. The cat, how you doing? So I was just looking through the chats. If I get quiet sometimes, I don't. Now here's something weird. I didn't get a video clip of this, but I saw this the other day, and I had it in my studio. I did play the clip. It's a short clip, and I'll probably get in trouble if I played it here. But this Citizens Free Press put this up. A Ukrainian deputy throws grenades in a council meeting in the western part of the country. This is where I said 160 countries coming through the border at least, and 200 and I don't know how many countries around the world, 224 or 222, I don't know exactly, where we're at odds with our fellow Americans right now are Ukraine and Palestine, neither of which are a country recognized by the UN, okay? So, but that's where we're seeing most of these tolls, TOLLS, and you know what I mean by that, people who have expired, and where we've got billions of dollars going to places that aren't even countries, okay? But anyway, here he is right here, and these people are sitting in a council meeting, you know, discussing issues, and he just pulled the pins and pitched them, and he stood right there. And you see it go off, and people hitting the ground, a room full of smoke, screaming and yelling. And he just stood right there. And there is that nobody, as far the last time I checked this site, there were like 26 people injured, 7 of them critically, and luckily no one had perished. Oh, Christopher, thank you. And sorry, I was asleep at the switch here. 9 minutes. I didn't see it because I was going on and on. Thank you, Christopher, for going to buy me a coffee. Says you really spent a lot of effort putting it all together. Keep it up, Mr. Mountain. Thank you, Christopher, for going to buy me a coffee and helping an old man out. We're gonna defeat this stranglehold they're trying to put on me. Utizzle. Thank you, Christopher. There, I see. Thank you. You're welcome, my friend. Indeed. So I've got Nikki put up a link in the description if anybody wants to help me out. And if you just go, if after the broadcast you feel you want to help out the channel, you just go to Buy Me a Coffee and then type in Mountainman, and it'll take you to my coffee page. But anyway, this, you know, this is a delicate subject about the church, about what people think. You know, you see people talking about, what is this popped up? Oh, good. I'll leave that up. People need to see this more often. Trump is right. Biden is a threat to democracy, American greatness. Weeks before the 2022 midterms, Joe Biden gave a memorable speech in front of Independence Hall. Was that his red speech? This setting could not have been more ironic or disturbing choice of content. I think that was his red speech. But anyway, yeah, Biden's a threat to democracy. He's the one guiding all these lawsuits and prosecutions. I'm going to play a video of that Fox News put up, and I'm going to comment through it about just, you know, people have to be reasonable. If they don't like Mr. T, wait a second. He's the only one that's going to stop this flood of immigrants, okay? Unless you want your pork chops to be seasoned, okay? The way we saw them getting seasoned in Holland. Or worse, okay? We're talking about people who view their faith in a very different way than I've said many times about a very good friend of mine I had that his mother was Muslim. He went to see his imam. We had discussions about our faiths. He was taught the passages that had held forth Islam as a religion of peace, okay? And he joined the Marine Corps the following day that they took the hostages in Iran under the Carter administration. He signed up and joined the Marines to fight for this country, okay, when radical Islam took Americans hostages in Iran. What's coming across our border, they are not like that, okay? And people are going to, I'm afraid, find that out in a very brutal way. And so Trump's the only one that's going to put a stop to that. Trump's the only one that's going to be able to turn this economy around. Trump's the only one that's going to put a stop to the wars. There's nobody else on the political horizon who will do it. He will do it. So any fair-minded person that sees this report I'm going to play, and I will stop it here and there and inject some discussion. But no fair-minded person would agree with what is being discussed in this report. Now, they have a huge wraparound television screen. I've never seen this before. I've seen them having big television screens, but you look at these cases, and of course, I'll play that clip of Trump. They're all BS, okay? But anyway, I'll put in my 2 cents here and there.
Both as a political angle and as attorney generals, they intend to tie up Donald Trump in 2024 in a host of legal cases. What you see here is a sampling of them. Donald Trump has 4 different criminal investigations going on as we speak. He's got the classified document case down in Florida for Mar-a-Lago, classified documents. You all remember the raid.
You got the Georgia election investigation, this is the Fulton County DA, Fannie Willis. We're looking into what happened as far as votes in Georgia after the election.
You got the January 6th investigation under Jack Smith.
And then don't forget about Alvin Bragg here in New York City. A number of different, it's convoluted, but criminal. You mentioned 4 criminal, but there's one that's dominated headlines recently, which is the civil investigation, which is still ongoing.
Yeah, that's Letitia James in New York City. But she's not the only civil investigation going on. So while there's 4 criminal investigations.
Well, 4 criminal investigations and 2 civil. You're going to hear about a civil case I hadn't heard of yet, but we know about the old crone that claimed he abused her at a department store 30 years ago, which there's no evidence of. But by the way, my mom told me a long time ago, don't wear brown loafers with a blue suit, son. But anyway, just a little joke there. But the 3 you see here on the screen, the one on our top, Letitia James, is where this judge is violating the law. He is ignoring an appeals court, which is unheard of, and ignoring premier experts in the real estate, banking, and insurance fields. Unheard of behavior. You've got Fannie Willis in Georgia. You saw the reports that I put up about a public hearing that was going to be held, about 17,000 plus, pieces of paper that Rathenberger was notified by the governor's office were unlawful, I heard it was up in the air that still may be happening at public hearings, so stay tuned. So that's garbage. Letitia James is garbage, and Jack Smith's is garbage. They don't get into that. But you did see on the other side of the screen, Trump 47, Biden 43. And as Trump said many times, and I will say it many times, they could have started this garbage 3 years ago, or even 2 years ago. The timing tells you everything you need to know.
Let's take a look at the timeline. You'll see it's filled as well with civil lawsuits going on. as you take a look at the timeline, actually, you can see the E.G. Jean Carroll defamation suit.
This is related to The Apprentice, like it's another. So there's what we're trying to get to is in the universe, there's the big ones. And then in the middle of it, you've got date after date after date of smaller civil courses, things as well, which if you're looking at, as we were putting this together, it's a maze to try to understand what could happen when. Because if you go back to Jack Smith, the reason we're talking about this timeline is that he has now asked the Supreme Court to weigh in on Donald Trump's defense team, the belief that they have immunity. The Supreme Court has taken that up. And when that trial, he wants that trial to start on March 4th, which is one day before Super Tuesday. If the Supreme Court rules in his favor, that could happen. If it doesn't, it gets delayed even further.
What's unprecedented about Jack Smith's request is it skips the federal appellate court level, goes straight from the district court to the Supreme Court in order to preserve this trial date before Super Tuesday. Now, anything can happen, Pete, as we push forward towards Election Day and the Republican National Convention. Any of these trials, the big one is probably the classified document case in May, any of these trials could be the first horse to cross the finish line. We don't know when exactly we're going to hear from these trials, but we know this. We know the goal is to hit it before people start voting.
That's exactly right. Well, this being a big date on the primary calendar, but then eventually if these trials get pushed, the concern or the concern in the Trump world, but also what Democrats hope happens is that you're getting into July, August, September, October trial dates before Election Day. And you've got conventions coming up here. And this cuts also, well, into the Biden camp as we move toward a convention. If his numbers are still fading, could they make a move there too?
So we mentioned that it's not just Donald Trump who will have legal issues going into an election year. It's
President Joe Biden as well. Every House Republican has now voted for a formal impeachment inquiry into Joe Biden. And we don't know exactly what the timeline will be on that, but look at the first quarter of 2024, and there will be hearings. Potentially, we saw the spectacle this week of Hunter Biden hosting a press conference on the Senate side, even though they wanted him on the House side, and he wouldn't go behind closed doors. Expect more of that. But they're going to be digging for documents, because ultimately it's bank accounts and wire transfers that could prove the things they believe happened.
Here's some of what to expect from Congressman Byron Donalds. It's going to be crystal clear that there are articles of impeachment that should be drafted for Joe Biden because, number one, he accepted bribes through his family from foreign nations, especially China and others. Number two, he knew that his brother and his son were violating the Foreign Agents Registration Act. I believe that's enough to draft articles of impeachment against Joe Biden, and I believe that is going to happen in the House of Representatives in the spring.
If that happens, does it change the race on the Democrat side? It really could.
It's all tied to Hunter Biden, and he'll have his own
legal issues coming up as well, including potentially a contempt of Congress charge. But for now, he has 3 felony counts related to his purchase of firearms when he was a drug user in 2018.
And then the more recent one, just this month, 3 felony tax offenses and a misdemeanor tax offense.
And as I mentioned, a potential contempt of Congress charge as well. But really, the big one is what's tied to Joe Biden and the influence peddling scheme.
Jonathan Turley, Fox News.
Sorry, I got the speakers screwed up there. I didn't mean to. But what I was saying, anyway, they're going to try to jam this situation up where it's up against the election. They're going to try to delay the election. The only thing I want to point out now is what Biden is going through and what Hunter Biden is going through doesn't nearly impact the Biden campaign because It is basically going to be the House of Representatives having testimony and asking for documentation and subpoenaing documentation, not forcing Biden to appear in court. But anyway, let's let it continue.
Contributor and law professor was on the Will Cain podcast on Friday. Here's what he had to say about Hunter Biden.
You can appear and testify, or you can appear and not testify by invoking the Fifth Amendment. Standing in front of the Capitol and taunting Congress is a rather bizarre legal strategy. In my view, he is in flagrant violation. He's in open contempt of Congress. He could be charged for that crime.
Jonathan Turley
dressed a lot more nicely than you did in that podcast. Everybody's making fun of me. I do this and I go casual on the pod. A lot of chest hair. There's a lot of chest hair?
Yeah, there was.
There's a lot of chest
There was a lot of chest hair.
Yeah, been eating my...
I don't know what they were talking about at the end about that guy's chest hair. But anyway, maybe it's got something to do with his brown loafers. I don't know. But that is a pretty good overview for anybody that's interested in fairness in this country. Why don't we just go to the American people? The Dems have control of the press, okay? They're able to put out their narrative. They're trying to try Trump in the court of public opinion. Why have these cases all jammed up at election time? If nothing else, it is to foment emotions in people and to look for an excuse to do a kind of nationwide J, and then another number is 6. Okay? We're not going to let them do that. We're going to let them show their backsides and let the chips fall where they may. But why not just pull their horns in, let us go through the democratic process and go from there? Why they can't do that is because they know they're going to lose. They know they're going to lose. And they know they can't stop Trump. They've tried everything with these alternative candidates, and it's all blown up in their faces. Vivek has been appealing to younger generations, getting them to look at the Republican Party. He's been dropping red, and then the other word is pills, big time, BOMBs, big time. Ron DeSantis is maintaining the Republican base that's disaffected with Trump. He's going to end up gravitating toward Trump, but he's helping keep the neocon wing intact. And it's all their attempts of the neocons are dumping tens of millions of dollars into Nikki Haley, into Chris Christie, into Ron DeSanctimonious. They're not giving Vivek anything, but anyway, we're draining that neocon old guard Republican. We're draining their coffers. And when it gets right down to it, people are going to be endorsing Trump and unifying the party. But I'll tell you what's really interesting is this latest bill that got put forth in the Senate. Keep an eye on it. Let me see if I got this right. No, that's the wrong one. Let me find the other. There's this bill in the Senate. Here we go. Very little discussion over who's pushing this through. Republicans introduced plan to verify U.S. citizenship for all of the one type of vote I'm not allowed to talk about on this platform. Please don't type it in the chats. But it's the kind that you have to put a stamp on. This is being sponsored in part by Mitch McConnell, believe it or not. Okay? He is playing both sides. I think he's being forced to by the white hats. But this is a big deal. So this is going to take one of their biggest weapons, the motor voting, okay, when you go get a driver's license, you're registered and all that garbage, because you know what comes next. But once this gets implemented, and it will get implemented, you didn't hear anything about this in the mainstream press, nothing. But how many of you think they did last time around that were non-citizen? Trump told Hillary that he would have won the popular vote against her if it wasn't for illegals. He said that to her face. And that was a 3 million spread. 3 million. God knows what it is now. So here we've got something from the world. These creepos here and wokeness put this out. European Union Commission has just opened up formal proceedings against X. At the World Economic Summit earlier this year, an EU commissioner threatened Elon Musk with sanctions if he did not cave on censorship. Our message was clear. We have rules which have to be complied with. Otherwise, there will be sanctions. So you have this unelected foreign entity that is opening up proceedings against Elon Musk and X, the European Union Commission, where they're probably going to be throttling X in their countries or prohibiting people, much like Brazil did, prohibiting them from going on that platform. So we're going to see, hi, single songwriter, how are you? Christina, how are you doing? Third Reich tactics, that's right. Yeah, that's the symbol that Nancy Pelosi used to wear, the pin she used to wear on her jacket. Many people said that was a symbol of the Fourth Reich, the Fourth Reich. So this was for Tennessee. I saw in the comments where he said it was nothing better than seeing a young person smile, to see a kid in happiness and at peace with God at Christmas time. And I saw this video and I just thought, made me think of Tennessee. He's not in tonight. Maybe he'll tune in. But if you get a chance, you want to see somebody really enjoying themselves with a smile on their face, singing "Oh Holy Night." There you go. You can, we're at the one right now, the 1 minute 13. You can come back and get this thumbnail and look it up and enjoy the show. I just thought I'd put that up there. And a couple of things I didn't get to put up the other night. How many Democrats does it take to change a light bulb? None. Biden tells them he fixed it, and they sit in the dark and applaud. We've got to get people out of this mindset, folks. Out of the mindset. And, you know, I told you all about a spat. I had a spat with a friend of mine. He's no longer my friend. But he was into this global warming and all this crap years ago. This was over 10 years ago. Way before Trump ever came in the picture. And I told him that the EPA had made a ruling, a regulation, so to speak, that human breath was considered a greenhouse gas. And I said, listen, this is dangerous when you have a federal agency saying that human breath is harmful to the environment. And he thought I was crazy. Oh, yeah? Well, Daily Mail online. Now scientists say breathing is bad for the environment. Gases we exhale contribute to 0.1%, 0.1% of the UK's greenhouse gas emissions. And what did Mr. T call it? The greenhouse scam. That is, or the Green New Deal scam. That's what it is. It's a scam. It's a fraud. And where were they in 8th grade science class? Where the plants breathe in carbon dioxide, the plants give off oxygen. Carbon is a nutrient, okay? It's a shell game, and it's all intended to rip us off. And just like I told my hippie friend, I used to call him an old hippie. I said, look, you old hippie, when the federal government says the human breath is a greenhouse gas, I said, that's dangerous, and it's going to come back. You watch. He said I was crazy. Well, right here you have it. So anyway, but you know how things work with science, right? You know how it works. I know how it works. The majority of scientists agree with those that fund them, right? That we're going to get rid of this. We're going to get rid of this. And when Mr. T gets back in, and hey, he's coming back in. And the question is, what this country and the world has to go through to get him back in. And if it wasn't Trump, it would be somebody else. Somebody who is not insane. All right? Somebody who's not deluded. Somebody who's not bought off. Somebody who's not a P3DO, okay? Somebody that's not on film doing something horrible at the behest of the puppet masters. One way or the other, this bunch of Marxists and the word I can't say, RADIC, okay, ALS, they're going out the door. And we're going to restore sanity. One way or the other. And when that happens, all these hoaxes and lies, I don't need to go down the list, but had people living in fear, that have divided people, that had made people think, you're using a lawnmower instead of you're using a regular lawnmower instead of an electric lawnmower. They throw rocks at you, or they put sugar in your gas tank or something. All that kind of lies and garbage that causes a kind of division is going to be exposed and put a stop to. And I was going to talk about something difficult earlier. I'll save it for another broadcast. But this business of going after religions and coming up with stories that go against the grain as to when Christ was born, even what his name is. Christ loves everybody, and the people that believe in the Ten Commandments aren't following Christ, and all these kinds of things lead to division. We have to be unified under the truth, okay? The true word. Christ said he was coming to fulfill prophecies, and he's not coming to unite people. He's coming to divide, okay? The wheat from the chaff. And this video here. You got, when people see people enjoying Christmas, all right, people lighting a tree, they want to get violent, all right? There's going to be persecution. There's going to be people who lash out. And hey, think of the parade, the Christmas parade, where that guy ran all those people down. That's just the beginning. And we got to be ready for it. We don't want to respond in kind, but we were told that there would be a great falling away and that there would be persecution of people of faith. So be leery of when people come out and discuss things that are divisive and go straight to the dogma of the church. Hang on to your principles that I said many times in the past, like a plank of wood in a stormy sea. That's all you've got to hold on to is your principles, your beliefs. Don't let go. Hang on to them in that stormy sea, no matter what I hit that button by accident. No matter what the fad of the day is, the fad of the day. And I don't know when. I hope I saw Nikki was feeling better, but we're going to see about we can go over Archbishop Vigano's video. I don't know how we'll do that. We'll try, or at least we can have a discussion about it on her channel. And Nikki, you want to, if you get a chance, put a link to your channel. Anybody who wants to participate in that, you hit the notification bell so you'll know when we go live or when Nikki goes live, when I go live. Subscribe here, hit the notification bell. And we're going to have a discussion about these issues because, when stuff hits the fan, if people aren't grounded and don't expect it, don't have a strategy for it, forewarned is forearmed, folks. Forewarned is forearmed. So I'm trying to play lore. This is always a good way to go out. I want to thank Christopher for helping me out tonight, sponsor tonight's program. And thank you again to Gary, Aaron, and Lone Wolf for getting through the U-Tizzle blockade and all the other nice folks that have helped me through Buymeacoffee. I appreciate you all spending your precious time with me. Like I say, I'll probably go live tomorrow, but if you're subscribed, hit the notification bell, you'll automatically know when I go live. And yeah, I see, Christopher, I need to go over to Bumble as opposed to U-Tizzle. Yeah, the U-Tizzle, Bumble's having problems. I'll go over them in my next broadcast. They're having big problems, and I think I think they've got employees that are on the dark side. They need to weed out, and also they don't own their own servers. And they're at the mercy of GOOGLE, right? So it's not looking good for Rumble right now unless they make some big moves. But we'll see how it goes, folks. Anyway, I'll be talking to you soon. Thank you much for tuning in. This is Mountain Man. I'll play lore for you. This is Mountain Man, over and out.
Corralled into this box where we either have to hate Vladimir Putin and believe everything evil that's said about him and love Ukraine, and there's no in between. And that reminds me a lot of you're either a white supremacist or you go with the Democrat narrative on everything under the sun.
The most lethal terrorist threat to the homeland today, white supremacy.
And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white.
I mean, there's as much interference here as you could possibly imagine before you even get to Hunter Biden, Nancy Pelosi, John Kerry, Mitt Romney, and all of their children who earn millions from Ukrainian gas companies. These days, it's hard to believe anything because they've lied about COVID, they lied about Russia collusion, they lied about the Ukraine impeachment trial, and there's so much more going on in Ukraine that nobody is talking about.
Does Ukraine have chemical or biological weapons?
My job as a journalist is to try to understand what is the truth here. I don't like being lied to, and we're being lied to on an epic scale. When we're told your only choice is you have to be 100% with Zelensky. Slava Ukraina, who's a puppet who you can find on the internet in black stilettos and leather pants. Zelensky was selected, like so many of our leaders. And honestly, with big tech and with election fraud these days, we don't know how many leaders all around the world have been selected for us and weren't actually voted in.
How to build back better.
We have to build back better.
Build back better.
If Donald Trump gets the Republican nomination, there are many of us that will move heaven and earth to ensure he doesn't win.
We are fighting the same battles all over the world. To pretend that this war is about Russia and Ukraine is a barefaced lie. Putin has been warning for 15 years that he is not going to stand by while the globalists take over the world, build bioweapons facilities and whatever else they're doing in Ukraine. Ukraine has been a center of money laundering for many of the leaders in this country. Billions of US dollars have been laundered through Ukraine, and we say nothing about it. Does nobody question these things? We have an idiot like Lieutenant Colonel Vindman.
Mr. Vindman, Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, please.
Do you always insist on civilians calling you by your rank?
And sits there as a lieutenant colonel. He didn't even make colonel. And he's telling the president of the United States what his policy should be. You have a traitor in the form of Maria Yovanovitch, who was Obama's ambassador, who's telling Ukrainian government officials, don't listen to the will of the American people.
In his July 25th phone call with Ukrainian President Alinsky, the president badmouthed Yovanovitch, calling her bad news.
I was shocked, absolutely shocked.
And then she's given a cushy job for life at Georgetown University, and we're told that the president of the United States cannot say to his foreign counterparts that we want you to look into something.
If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. And they put in place someone who was solid.
So much hypocrisy and dishonesty here, and Ukraine is at the center of it all.